Coke anymore.
It's absolutely not sponsored by Coke. It's sponsored by Johnson Plastics Plus, one of the greatest places to go online and go shopping if you're in need of laser blanks. They have a whole bunch of stuff like Romark, which is the best two-ply acrylic that I've ever used in my life. And you were telling me they just brought in some new, what was it, Romark metals? You were telling me they sent us today, or
so basically they're sending us a few cool things to play with. And so basically it's their Duramark line, which is the stuff for like exterior, and it's like even more UV resistant. So if you're making like outdoor signs, like I think we're going to hear about later, there's the metals that they're working on. It's a whole bunch of stuff. I don't want to give it all away.
A whole bunch of stuff. It's coming in the mail. You guys will hear about it soon. And they've got laser blanks and tumblers and like a whole bunch of other stuff. So shout out to our actual sponsor. It's not Coca-Cola. It's Johnson Plastics Plus. You can find out more with the link down in the description, along with a handy 15% discount code. Go check it out. They're super awesome for sponsoring the podcast. We really appreciate them. Anyway, welcome to Laser Source Podcast, the #1 podcast if you love diode lasers. This is a diode laser episode, and we've got a special guest with us today. It's Emily from WyldeWillow. What's up, Emily?
Hey.
Welcome to the show. I'm particularly stoked that you are here today. I feel like I'm just shouting into the void 99% of the time when I am telling people that diode lasers are awesome. I love diode lasers. I think they're sick. And you're here today because you built an entire real profitable business with just diode lasers. And I'm super excited to pick your brain about it. But before we get crazy, why don't you just introduce yourself to our audience and let us know how you got into lasers.
Well, I'm Emily. I got into lasers like a year and a half ago, or laser, because I had the atom stack first. I was working on, I started off with like geometric wood signs, like art pieces. I made one for my best friend who like did my whole wedding for me. And after I made it for her, I was like, dude, I could totally sell these. So I started making a bunch of them, sold a shit ton of them. It was great. And then I got pregnant. I stopped. And then after I had my daughter, my mom, sorry, I stuttered. My mom gifted me a motorcycle helmet rack because me and my husband ride Harleys. And there was like a Harley Davidson emblem on it. And me and my husband were like, dude, we could totally make these. Like, this is super easy. Because I'm a stay-at-home mom. He's at work. And I was like, I want something to do. I'm like kind of crafty, you know? So I started making those and then started making like pipe shelves and pipe like tables. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like the rustic stuff.
Yeah.
And then one guy wanted a helmet rack with like this like really weird emblem on it that I couldn't find like online. Like I was buying like metal ones that you could just stick on. And I couldn't find it. And so my husband came home from work one day and he was like, why don't we just get like a laser? Because like something popped up like as an ad or something. And I was like, what? Like I never would have thought like we would get like a laser. It kind of sounded nerdy at first, but we got one.
Is. I mean,
I never really would have thought of it, but we
what
got
you
one.
trying to say about us, guys?
Emily's like, I never would have thought I was a nerd, but there I was.
Never would. No, I really didn't. I'm very
hanging out with idiots on the interwebs.
She says with hat presses like 2 feet behind her in the background.
I'm a nerd now. Okay.
Yeah, totally.
We accept that. Okay.
That ship has sailed.
Yeah. So we started messing around with it, and I feel like in the beginning, it was pretty challenging for me to like. I'm more of like the type of person that would rather do things the hard way, unfortunately, and run the same thing over and over until I got it right. And then my husband was like, oh, we could do like these little test grids and whatnot. So we kind of got this one dialed in and soon realized it wasn't doing the job when I was like trying to cut MDF. It just took way too long to cut it. So we got the 20-watt X tool, and I've been using that ever since. And it's taken a long time for me to be efficient with it. I feel like it's taken me a while. It has been difficult. I've had to like, I always try to leave it running and always trying to like pump out people's orders and stuff. And then in the beginning, when I first started, I would use my time when it's running to like look up different like cut settings. I feel like using a multi-layer on my cuts, like starting off with lower power at first, and then like the next 2 layers, I think that's what it's called. The next 2 layers, I would do higher power and I'd get like a cleaner cut around it instead of just trying to go like full blast power one pass, you know.
Right.
But that's kind of how it started. And once I did the hats is like when it really took off. The signs are fun and cool, and I love doing them, but those are very time consuming. I have a bunch I'm doing right now, but it's a lot. It really is.
Yeah. And so we've kind of made a couple comments on ourselves while doing our research tonight. Your X tool enclosure looks really big. Do you have that on the extension rails?
Extension
or is that just the 400 by 4? The extension rails like would take it from being like a square to like extra wide. Yeah. I thought so because it looks like really big, and it looks like you have like a custom enclosure. What's the story behind that?
Yeah, me and my husband built that because for the longest time I was doing my engraving out my garage with like a fan blasting on it, shooting it outside, and then finally he was like, we should bring it inside so that way I could sit in my office, make it like a fun environment so I'm not locked out in the garage all the time. Yeah. And I have kids, so it was a little hard chasing my kids around while I was like in the garage. So me and him came up with that and put that together, and it's a game changer, honestly. And it works really well with our exhaust fan and everything. It does good.
Yeah, I was gonna say like I mean, like you're talking about like it being a struggle, kind of like nailing things down with the X tool. But like when I was checking out your Instagram, it seems like you have videos where you like sit down and you're like, and you just do it, and in Lightburn. And so you must feel like you're getting at least a little bit better with the time.
Oh, I think I'm so much better. I don't give myself, honestly, that's something that I have a hard time doing, is giving myself enough credit. Like I'm just out here surviving, I feel like. And I don't really realize actually how much I've accomplished. A lot of sleepless nights, a lot of learning. He teaches me a lot because when he's on the road, he's gone throughout the week. So he'll watch YouTube videos. He'll watch you guys, a bunch of people.
That's really cool.
And then he comes home and then he can like show me. I'm more of like a visual learner. My attention span's like really short. So like watching a video when kids are asking for food and stuff, like I can't do it. So he comes home and then he shows me, and then I just put it to use throughout the week.
We know all about that. I mean, like one of our biggest jobs here on the channel is to like collect information from a bunch of places and then like distill it down, you know, so that it's like much more just kind of like straightforward and to the point. And having somebody like sitting next to you, showing you, I mean, you can't beat that experience, you know? So it is really cool, Matt, that like he has the time on the road to just like do all of the consumption, and then you get kind of like the filtered output.
Yeah, we are a good team. Like, honestly, I would not be able to do what I do now if it was not for him, honestly. Like he has just as much credit in this business as I do. I'm like the face of the company, and I'm more of like the laborer, and he's a lot of the brains. I'm getting more knowledgeable with like things, and I started a YouTube channel so I could like get better at like talking about and like explaining things to like businesses. When I go out and I go to a business, I want to be able to like know what I'm talking about. I'm just so used to just like diving in and working and not having to explain anything to anybody. Yeah.
I mean, using them on a daily basis kind of forces you, especially if your husband's on the road, it like forces you to be the technician too, you know, like you're going to be put in that position. And at that point, it's just like exposure, just repeated exposure over and over, as I'm sure you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, and I was hoping, like, I've got your Instagram, like, kind of the feed starting from the beginning. I really, like, we've got a couple people, like, let me go to our starred stuff right here. So basically, we had a couple people who were really excited that you are, like, a Diode champion, right? And so when you open up YouTube and the first thing that pops up is your favorite person on a thumbnail of your favorite YouTube channel, it's an incredible feeling, is what Joel said. And
that's
then
that's what I said. It's got to be your husband. Yeah,
that's what I was saying. Your number one fan. But the other thing too is V said, I'm hoping to get some good info out of this session. All I have right now is a diode. I love it though, and I'm fixing to take the plunge to go to a CO2 soon. And so like that's why I wanted to show people your Instagram, because Boyce is the one who was like, this chick is awesome. She makes amazing stuff. And it's with the diode like farm basically, because now you started with one. And what are you working with now? So you started with the atom stack.
The atom stack, I just do the tumblers on. My husband Joel does the tumblers mostly because I haven't had time to really learn all of that. Like my main
it's like a whole other thing.
Yeah, my main focus
rotary on diode too is a whole nother
thing. Yeah. I've seen him in here for hours trying to, this honestly doesn't do that well on the tumblers. It gets the job done. Maybe we're doing something wrong, but he's done so much research and a lot of trial and error. I think we've narrowed it down to where it does it better now, but this isn't like the setup that I want forever. The X tool does good. I made a lot of cool stuff on it, but it's time consuming. But when your laser's running and it's taking time, it's like, what are you doing with your time while it's running? Like there's so much, I have so much to do. I have so much to do to grow my business. Like it never ends. Like,
well, I think and then you got to be mom too, and you got to be wife, and you got to be business owner, and
part of what I think you like have kind of unlocked, and you mentioned it with the hats, is like finding the right kind of work for the machine at your disposal.
Yeah,
you know, because like you were saying, like the signs just take so long, but the hats, you're not engraving a whole hat, you're just cutting the patches. It's all set up in an array, and you're just marking through it, and it cuts them out, and they're done. And that is not the case with tumblers, right? That's not the case with signs.
No.
So I feel like the first thing that we could probably extract from watching you succeed is being able to have the clairvoyance to like pick the right thing for the equipment that you have. Yeah,
I think that's a great way to put it. The hats are definitely at first, when my husband was talking about making hats and how much money we would make if it takes off compared to like my signs, at first I didn't really like think too deep into it, or like there's no way. And then once I started doing it, I make so much more money with the time that I put in the hats than I do the signs. I like making the signs, but it's like it's so time consuming. It really is, and it's stressful.
And just a side note too, it's not you and your husband, it is the Diodes. They're just not the best machine for that job at all. So it's I you know, at some point you got to call it and be like, this is acceptable. You know, at least until you see equipment upgrade. You know, if it's good, like sometimes you got to leave well enough alone.
And Andrew just chimed in that he's really jealous of your stalls hat press back there. Like that's the thing, when you look back behind you, you see the good equipment, you're like, all right.
Okay, so about that hat press though, can I mention something about that hat press?
Go for it.
Because maybe do you guys know anything about the hat presses?
Literally nothing.
Okay, maybe people that are watching do, but so it's like $2,000 to get it. We were so excited to get it, so pumped, and then we get it and we're pressing hats, messed with all the settings, and all the hats were coming out like it was changing the shape of them. Like it was just like too hot or something. So I like laid a microfiber cloth over it and like wrapped it nicely and then taped it down with like heat tape. And now it presses the hats perfectly. So if anyone,
that's the one that has a heated top and bottom, right?
Yeah. I haven't figured out. Maybe people have like better settings for it, but we couldn't figure out the settings. Like we have the settings that work now, but without the cover and like a little padding, it was shaping the hats.
Yeah, it takes tweaking.
What kind of material are your hats generally made out of? Are you guys doing like the poly, like plastic foam kind of stuff? Or are you guys doing
hat?
like the hat material itself? Or are you doing more like the cotton?
I buy Richardson's or Yupong. They're like the regular hat material. I have done a couple foam ones.
It's like a cotton polyester
this
mix
one's
or something,
like this one's like more sheer. It's like the front pinch one, but I don't do a lot of foam hats. I do mainly like these.
They do. They're not good.
Flat bill Richardson. This has cool. Like the wood and like leather on it, and then I put rivets in it with my old logo. But yeah, I made a hat catalog with like all the Richardson hats, and I send those to like my customers so they could pick out whatever they want from there.
They look great. When I was like scoping out your Instagram, you have a couple videos where you're like snapping your fingers and the hat styles changing. And I've seen like hat styles in your videos that I've like never seen anywhere else before. They're pretty rad.
I try really hard to like find new ways to be a little different. And I've been using JP Plastic?
Johnson's Plastic Plus,
I use their Romark. I've been doing a lot of hat patches out of the Romark.
How has that been going? Because that's one of the things. So like when we just got this sponsorship, it's our first sponsorship ever. We're really picky about who we take sponsorships from. And our first video on this channel ever was me cutting out a Romark sign. Like I love Johnson Plastics Plus. And I've seen people at like shows and conventions and stuff, hat pressing like flat stock plastic around hats, and they stay. That's like crazy to me. Does that work super well?
Yeah. So actually, I had a patch. It was kind of small. I did patches for Bottoms Up Espresso. It's like a coffee place in a town next to my town. It's really well known, and they have like red, white, and black in their logo. And I cut it out, and it was kind of like not thin in the thickness wise, but like, what do you call it when it's like
height?
Like height.
Yeah, height.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it was kind of short, and it snapped. So I ended up heating up the patch, the Romark patch, on my Stahl's heat press first with the Hide Bond adhesive on it on the back. I would heat it up, and it would bend it already. So it's pre-bent. So it's
nice.
So whenever you preheat your hat, it's easy to stick on, because if it's just completely, if the patch is like flat and you heat up your hat, it's not going to stick on there good enough and not like wiggle around. So you like preheat the Romark, bend it, and then put it on.
You could do a whole course.
I'm going to make a
Totally.
video of doing, because I haven't seen anyone do a Romark hat like that. So I'm going to do one here soon.
That'd be a banging ass video too, I bet.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll make sure. I want to make sure that I've definitely seen your website, and I've definitely seen your Instagram, but I don't remember seeing your channel. So we need to make sure that we get. Okay, cool. Well, let's get a link. You can have the first at least 50 people watching this. You guys go sub right now.
Hell yeah.
I just made it last night. You guys inspired me. I was like, I'm just going to give this a shot.
Dude, yeah, you just got to do it. Your first like 100 videos, you're just going to look back and be like, it doesn't matter how much time you put into them. Just get them out of the way.
I want to get to the Instagram in a minute here, but like, because like all the stuff we're talking about, we've seen, but other people haven't. But the other thing too is like a lot of your newer stuff. I guess you got a newer camera lately or something. I think you said in one of your posts.
I have
I think so. I don't know.
I don't have a new camera. I have the new iPhone, and I have like this.
Oh, there you go.
I have this thing that I.
I got one of those. I love it. I was just using it.
I want to get a new camera. I was gonna ask. Is Chris on here? No. Joel, my husband said Chris would know maybe like a good camera. Is there a guy named Chris on here?
My brother's name is Chris, but he's not here.
Alex has got a buying guide for cameras.
Who's the guy that likes the cameras or like is into that?
I mean, me.
That's him.
Alex likes cameras.
Mostly. Yeah, I like cameras. The one that I've been really telling everybody to get lately, and I have one. I just talked Matt into getting one. He loves it. Is the Sony ZV-1 Mark II. It's really good. Yeah, it's a compact camera, and this goes to everybody who's listening too. This is great for marketing your business, whether you're doing it from a like video angle or you're just trying to take nice product photos or anything in between. It's a really solid camera. It's a point and shoot, like the old school style. It's got a flip out screen. You don't have to change any lenses or anything. It's got a great zoom on it, a nice big sensor, and it's perfect for like shooting videos of yourself working with the machine. What do you do? That's not even it.
I'm showing the zoom.
That's a webcam.
No, this is the Sony.
No, it isn't.
Yeah, it is.
Is it really?
It nice in the dark.
How do you have it with a remote?
Because I'm amazing.
Oh, you have your little thing.
Yeah, it's a little tripod that you get with it that has a remote on it.
Yeah, it comes with like a little tripod with a remote and a stand and stuff. But it'll work with like a Ronin or like Osmo style gimbal, like the one that you have too.
That gimbal costs like $500.
It's really good. Yeah, they come in between like $500 and $700 depending on the time of year.
It's
not bad at all, and it's a really nice camera without investing in like a DSLR setup where you have to buy a bunch of lenses. You know, because that sucks, and nobody wants to do that. And even if you did, you don't want to carry them around all the time. It's just like a whole thing. You get that really nice like out of focus background look because it's got a nice wide aperture on the lens. It's super duper easy to use. So it's the Sony ZV-1 Mark II.
How much is that camera right now?
I think they're like $650, $700.
It's $800 for the camera.
We'll get a link to that in the description too.
I just bought it 3 weeks ago. So for everybody who's looking, the link is $799.95 from Sony on Amazon. Okay. But you can go to Best Buy, and I was like, you can get a deal sometimes, not all the time, where this thing comes with it too. So instead of paying $1,000 total, you pay $900. So you save $100.
The thing is very nice. It's a nice little thing because it's got like a record button on it, and you get that extra kind of reach with your hand if you're shooting like vlog style video.
Yeah.
There was something else I was going to say too about it.
Welcome to the camera podcast.
Yeah, I know. But anyways, it's important because it takes amazing photos, which is what we're gonna look at next.
So,
yeah, so
you
this
look
is
back
where...
at my old cringy videos. Don't look
No, we're not gonna do videos. I just wanted to show the product. So I think for people
dude,
like
I love
me,
those pipe shelves. That's
like
so
the
sick.
reason we were super excited to have you on and why Boyce saw this and was like, man, this is somebody who we got to talk to, is because these are the kind of products, like a lot of people start with woodworking just like you did. But still, you always had nice photos. Like you and your husband did a good job of like actually displaying what you did, you know.
I didn't scroll down this far.
Oh, I went all the way to the beginning because I was like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah, those are
from
dope.
the beginning.
So here's the Atom stack, right?
Where's that Atom stack, dude?
Yep.
Yeah, sick.
That's the emblem right there, the one that has like the fingers that stick off the circle.
Oh, that's cool.
That's what made me buy my laser, is because I couldn't find that as like a flag.
Like the New Mexico star.
Yeah,
their state flag. Yeah,
nice.
So this is where you were saying this was taking too long, right? Like this was.
Those weren't taking that long, but it was just kind of getting old. Like, I felt like I wasn't making enough money for the amount of time I was putting in.
right.
Yeah, and also like I can tell you right now. So my daughter and I just built a Valentine's Day box that I made a video for the channel with, and we were just putting on like the letters, like sticking the letters in place, using the cutout to like make a stencil basically, and doing that. Like 30 minutes into it, I'm like, my God, kill me, you know?
Right.
So, and then like, I was like, if I was charging for this, I would be like every fucking letter. Sorry, curse words. Every friggin' letter.
Yeah.
I'd be charging like premium money for it. Whatever. It's
Okay,
okay.
we're more than 17 seconds into the video. So
yeah, it's fair. Plus,
Boys.
anyway, so, but then I saw you made this really cool hat maker sign, which is an outdoor. So real quick, for people who are doing diodes, what's the difference for you? Like, what was your process that you and your husband did different for an outdoor sign versus like an indoor sign? What's the big difference you did?
Like when I cut it, or like to the material I used?
Yeah, like all of it, I guess, like the finishing and the.
I just found, luckily that's on like it's on an overhang, so it doesn't get wet. But I just finished it with like water, or like what is it, UV protective finish, and I think it was like water too, a certain gloss, I think. But I just cut that out of plywood. Yeah, I cut it out of I cut it out of plywood and then painted it with like an outdoor paint, and just finished it with an outdoor exterior finish. And it's still good. It's in my town. It's a guy that is a hat maker, but
and that's where, like, how long ago was that, by the way?
That was probably over maybe like a year and a half ago, maybe.
Well, see, and that's what I'm trying to get people to understand is there's a lot of people who overthink this stuff, and they're like, oh, I can't make something like that because that's too complicated. And it's really
not that hard. Start simple like that. Like, that's just like, I feel like, in my opinion, maybe it wasn't that easy at the time, but it wasn't that hard, I feel like, when I made those.
Yeah.
It's when you get into that belt the belt holder thing up there, that was a little challenging. But that's when I used to say yes to everybody. That's kind of some advice I have to people. It's kind of good and bad. I said, when I first started off, I said yes to everybody because I was trying to find my thing. And I wanted to get my name out there. So saying yes to everybody did a good job at getting my name out there in my community. It definitely worked. But it also kind of drove me to the ground a little bit in my sanity. And
well, yeah, I was gonna say, like, that's what you did. Like, I did the same thing in the beginning because that's where I got into my local newspaper, and I was like so excited.
Yeah.
And like I saw that, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's just it's just like you're talking about. So where was it that you kind of started figuring out, like, okay, this is what I want to do? Like, whereabouts on this thing?
I would say.
Oh, look how complicated this guy is.
That's kind of cool.
That's just 3 layers. Cut out of plywood. That was actually pretty simple to make. Those QR code stands were pretty difficult because some of them I had to inlay magnets because they wanted them to be magnetized to the board. Right. So I had
that's
to do
cool
that.
Though.
But
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Look how dope that is.
Yeah, that's super cool.
What's really great about that is when they change their menu or they add something. Yep.
That way they can just replace it really easy.
When you did the inlay, were you like engraving depth into them and then putting the magnets in, or did you just straight cut them out? Like, how did you handle that?
I used a drill to like.
Oh yeah, straight up.
Yeah, to drill it in a little bit, and then I just glued them in.
Nice.
I should have used the laser. I didn't really think about that, honestly.
No, I think the Forstner. Did you use like a small Forstner bit?
Yeah.
See,
that's way more efficient. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if I was going to try and recreate that, I would literally just make a dot with the laser for like to act as like a center punch.
Yeah.
Oh,
For the
yeah.
drill.
Mm.
Yeah, I wish I would have done that.
That's actually pretty smart. But the reason I wanted to bring this up is, guys, if you haven't followed her yet, you can go way faster scrolling through all of her cool stuff. If you go ahead and go follow her over at WyldeWillow Woodworks. I got to say it slow because my brain is not smart. But yeah, you can go do
that
that.
alliteration is hard, isn't it, Matt?
Yeah, basically.
You were talking about, Matt, you were talking about that Valentine's Day thing you did with your daughter and the little pieces.
Yeah.
If you scroll up, my most prized possession that I've ever made is a truck sign, and it had like over 200 pieces that I had to hand sand and spray paint all by hand.
Where is this?
Keep scrolling.
Okay, I'm looking.
Matt doesn't know what the top is, so he'll get there when he gets
Oh,
there.
was it all the way to the top? I'm
Oh,
sorry.
right
There
there,
it is.
that blue truck. This girl had a truck for an event.
Damn.
She said that she needed this exact truck, so I traced it on Procreate on like an iPad. I traced the whole truck and made like a puzzle. And then once I traced everything, I brought it to Lightburn, and then I had to figure out all the different dimensions and layers to make it look like it has depth.
Mhm.
And it took so long, and that's why I quit drinking alcohol too. Is
No,
because
Holy shit.
By the way, now I see why you work with a lot of bars, because after doing this kind of shit, you're done.
What?
Oh,
So
the
I like
hay on the
I'm
back.
noticing that
That's
the
awesome. looking.
edges have like a really nice,
They're
super
smooth.
smooth bevel on those pieces.
Uh-huh.
Did you just sit there and sand all of those by hand?
No,
or how did
that's
you handle
like-
that?
I don't remember what it's called. It comes in a roll. It's like really thin plywood with like a adhesive on it, and you iron it on to the edge, and then
Oh,
you
like a
use the
veneer?
razor blade. What did you say?
Like a veneer.
Yeah, I
or-
think so. And then I
or
just
an
like
applique.
shaved off the excess and then sanded it, and it looks like the whole thing is like wrapped in wood.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like a applique, like the
Yeah,
1/32
I forget what it's
stuff.
called. Yeah.
So yeah, for those of you, I'm just kind of stopping at the show. Like I counted 38 pieces in the pumpkins in the gourds alone.
Yeah, and that truck has, I think, 8 layers to build it up to make
Get
it
the
look like it's
frick
protruding
outta
out.
here.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was
That's
crazy.
hardcore.
You charge like $5,000 or something? Because this is a lot of time.
I think I charged her. I think it was
Oh
like
my.
3,000. It was for a good friend too, so I don't think I charged her more than as
Yeah,
much as
you
it was
charged
worth.
the right amount, whatever you did. Like my God.
Golly, that's a lot of time.
But yeah, so I wanted to go back because again, I'm trying to show off like watching her evolution was really neat to me. That's why when we scrolled up, like even something as simple as this, and so a couple of things people had asked. Lori Champagne said her engraving is really dark. Are you adding a paint fill, or is that the result of just using the diode?
That's just a result of the diode.
So do you
can
like
mess around with your
defocus?
power settings. I probably went pretty deep on it. And plus that cedar grabbed the engraving really good. I remember when I did that board, the cedar did a good job with the engraving. But yeah, that's just from the diode.
Is
A
it like
great
white cedar,
example-
do you know, or red cedar?
Huh?
Is it
I think it
red
was-
or white cedar?
It was red cedar.
Okay.
A great example of this effect, if you are at home and have a diode and a CO2, is cork or bamboo.
Oh, yeah.
Take
Mhm.
cork or bamboo and put it in your CO2 laser, and then put it in your diode laser. The diode is just inherently darker because you're using a visible light laser. So diode's really, really good for that. If you're looking for reasons to get a diode, a lot of people that listen to this show or watch this show, Emily, think that diodes are like kids' toys. And so not everybody, I'm not talking to you guys watching live, but a lot of people do. And they're not, they have like real uses. And that's one of them. So as we talk about them today, I'm going to call them out because diodes are really, really good at getting dark marks
Damn, that's
on
nice.
woods that don't typically behave well on a CO2.
I was trying to catch the dark mark on that wood because, oh my God, look at that.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, that looks good. I was happy with that.
And this was the one I was looking for because when people say, how come that sign is $150? How come that sign is $200?
Right?
And you're like, you're
They
right.
don't get it
Motherfucker. It should
sometimes.
be
They don't get it.
$400 because if you notice, she had to get the wood out. She had to saw it down. She had to plane it out. She had to sit there and do the engraving. She had to take there and sand it back down so it's smooth across the top so that the stuff would adhere better. And we're not even done.
All adds up. It's even the smallest things sometimes. Like a lot of people don't really think about it. Honestly, they don't really think about how much time the smallest thing could take. Like that
See,
wasn't that hard to make, but to make it look really nice and like done well, you do have to take your time with it and do a good job with your clear coats and everything.
and so that's exactly what I was trying to say. So to me, a lot of times when you have a tool that people think is less than or whatever, because a lot of times I think a lot of people are snooty about the whole, oh, it's a diode, like Alex has said. But the thing is, when you know, like John just said, whoops, that's not the right one. Here we go. Wood species matter for colors and shading of the engraving. So that's the kind of stuff that you got to know. Like if you have the machine that takes longer, you've got to know what you can do with it that's better, and you also have got to know how to make that work for you. You know what I mean? And so I think that was really impressive looking at the stuff, even your early stuff that you started off with.
Yeah.
And so that's where you were saying. And so this is kind of like, I see exactly what you're talking about. This is the kind of stuff when you go to like a market or any of those like pop-up things, you see this kind of stuff a lot from woodworkers.
Yeah.
And you're fighting against people who they bought a laser too. But
yeah,
this is really cool,
I've definitely drifted away from this because my husband, I want to bring him home from work, and I want to focus on like bulk orders from like big businesses. Like I'll still do signs like when I actually am doing quite a bit of signs right now. I just posted one that I did. I finished it last night, but I just want to do the bulk orders with businesses and then just signs on the side when I can.
What steps are you taking to make that transition? Because that's a really difficult jump for a lot of people.
It's honestly, I would say, so right now I made flyers. I have some flyers coming in. When I get those in, I'm going to dedicate like at least every week, pick maybe 2 days out of the week to go to businesses, try to get as many as I can in. And I really think I'll have success with it, honestly. Also checking up with like other companies and businesses that I've sold for before in the past and see how they're doing. They usually end up needing a reorder. And then what was the other thing I was going to say? Shit.
Do you use on like a lot of online stuff or no?
No, not really. I need to get my website. You guys looked at Alex, you looked at my website, and it's not the way it should look. Honestly, it needs work. But
we have a guy for that.
We know a guy. It's Shopify. So if you are transitioning to like B2B work, if that's your goal, you have two lasers that are very awesome, but also very notorious for being slow. So how do you handle that? Like, what kind of jobs are you doing for these businesses where the slow speeds and long run times of the diode lasers aren't affecting your ability to?
Or my thought too was like, what time frame are you giving them that makes them go, that's fine? You know what I mean?
So for hats, it takes about a week for the hats to come in. This is an example. The hats come in. I can get like with my husband's help, if he's home, a 200 hat order probably done in a couple days. And that's like dedication.
That's kicking ass though. That's like.
And then also, I was going to show you guys using the full extension in there. We built some jigs. So like this is for coasters.
You're talking my language now.
Slide them on.
Kind of like,
use the whole entire laser bed.
That's really cool.
Show that again.
That was too fast for Boyce. You gotta go slower for the old man.
So you have shut up. Okay,
look at that, dude.
Yep, it lives.
I really like that.
He's got hinges on that bad boy.
I'll mail you a couple hinges, Boyce, so you can play with them. Figure out how they work.
I don't know how to find anything.
These are for coasters, and I don't really do a lot of coasters and beer koozies right now. But when I did do them, instead of doing a couple, when I had those bulk orders for that order specifically, we made jigs for them.
That's nice.
But yeah, doing the jigs. But with the hats, I can get a lot of hats done on the laser, honestly. But I am going to get a CO2 eventually. That's the goal. I need to get out of debt first, though, and sell my motorcycles, and then I'll get a CO2.
Well, and the reason, again, like a lot of people are really excited to hear because Scott said, really enjoying the diode appreciation. I've got a 5-watt and thinking of getting a more powerful one for cuts. Here I was thinking I needed a CO2 to be successful. Thank you. Great topic.
Yeah, you can do it.
Yeah, you don't got to spend. One thing we haven't really talked about, which I'm curious if you've messed around with, my number one selling point for diode lasers when I'm trying to, convince people that it's a real tool that you should have in a shop, whether or not you have a CO2, is really small dot size compared to a
Oh,
CO2.
yeah.
They're amazing at photos. Do you ever mess around with like photo work and things like that?
I've done a couple. I did
The dog.
one. Oh, I didn't do that one. My husband did one where it was on a canvas, and I'll get it. He did our wedding picture. You paint it first.
Yep.
And the picture kind of got morphed, but he did a whole picture on it. I don't know if you can kind of see it.
No, pretty, yeah.
On a motorcycle.
Beautiful.
That's awesome.
And I've done a couple on some wood, but I don't do a lot of them, honestly. If I had more time, I definitely would want to.
That's a
with it more.
big time suck. Yeah, totally.
I've seen guys or girls do them on tumblers, like actual images of things on tumblers. It's crazy.
Anthony Montez is really good. One of our loyal, like always here. He's one of our mods. And he's also just always helping us out on Discord too.
Mm-hmm.
Like he is Diode
guy.
He's just like putting things out there that I'm like, how did you do that? He's like, oh, just Diode.
They just the X tool or the Niji. It's freaking Niji boy.
I think my husband mentioned him the other day. Was he always just hops on, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he hops on.
I think he was talking about him
and
that he's really good at what he does.
We need to. This is totally me being ADD, but we need to have him back on E-Stop soon because I just re-listened to that E-Stop episode that he came on and it was so funny.
By the way, everybody is not
don't sell
the bikes.
Don't sell the bikes.
Yeah. Oh my god, if you sell the bikes,
Andrew's a Harley guy too.
My cars.
Andrew's a Harley guy too.
I don't
Harley. I sold my bike. I missed my bike, but I couldn't.
I used to be a motorcycle safety instructor at the course.
Really?
Literally. Like
Matt's been everything. Matt was a pilot. He was also he worked for MI6.
Also the con man. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Catch if you can.
I was gonna say I know it looks like Leonardo DiCaprio, but actually Catch Me If You Can stars Matt Bodiford.
I'm literally Christopher Walken in that one. Sometimes you gotta buy a diode. Anyways, whatever. So here's the deal. Talking about like upping your game, and making money, the signs, because I want to kind of jump in the Instagram up to the signs because I think when people see that you made these with X tool and stuff, they're going to be really impressed.
That one over her shoulder, guys.
Yeah. And so what made you guys realize like we should do these really kick-ass LED signs?
So when you scrolled down, like my like kind of basic signs that you kind of see all the time that a lot of girls make and stuff, I was thinking to myself, because that was, I think, my first one, the granite pine one.
Yep.
He wanted one, and I was like, how can I just make this like way cooler? And I looked up these LED lights, which Govee has. This is not sponsored, but Govee has the best.
They've
lights.
got some. Look, that's what's behind me,
dude. I have these lights. I don't know if you guys check out the YouTube video I posted. I'll show the ones I have above my monitors right here. They're like octagon shapes, and they sync up to my desk lights, those lights, but my sign lights, everything. It's so sick. But yeah, I would say I just wanted to make like my signs stand out more than
that definitely pops.
You definitely did that.
Yeah, and the lights. Everybody wants the lights. Everybody does.
Sprinkle of RGB makes everything better.
Well, but this is the RGBIC, right? This is the independent one or whatever, where they flow different than the normal RGB.
What do you mean? I don't know what RGB stands for.
So the red, green, blue, like the LEDs. So these lights that you got on here. So the RGB LEDs that you've got here, like there's one that is called like the IC, and I don't know if people in chat know about it or if you guys are nerds like me, but I spent like I messed up and I ordered the wrong item once, and it was RGB where they only have X amount of LEDs per rope. Then there's the RGB ICs, which are the newest one, and they're like $30 more than the cheapies.
I think I have the more expensive one.
Yeah, you definitely. I think you've got the newer one than that too, because like the colors like almost meld together as they change.
Oh yeah, it's so cool. The app that they have is insane. Yeah. They have so many settings. It's so badass.
I got it too.
I would say I just wanted to stand out more than others did, and I'd say a lot of people came to me in my community for signs. I've made at least, I think 4 LED signs 2 LED signs and a couple just regular signs for people's businesses in our community. And that's another thing that was a good if you're just starting off your business, and you kind of have to bite the bullet a little bit when it comes to what you're charging. Like I had to earn my wages that I make now. When I first started, I did not charge per hour because it's not the customer's fault that you are slow at what you're doing. And I had an opportunity to make the second most detailed sign I've ever made. It's the cow head one that you see that's tongue is sticking out for a local brewery in our town. And that's their logo. And they wanted that. And I had to totally sell myself short on cost to make it. Like I made a little bit of money, but it did take me a long time. But the benefit of doing that is in my town, anyone I talk to, I can be like, hey, I'm talking about my business to them or whatever. I'm like, have you seen the sign, the LED sign, that dying breed? They're like, yeah. I was like, oh, I made that. And they're like, oh, shit. Like instantly like, oh, that's what you can do? Wow.
That's your conversation starter right there.
Well,
that you're in.
Yeah.
And
that's
where I was going to make a suggestion
money,
for your YouTube channel. You should really think about adding those shorts to the YouTube channel so that when people say, you know, hey, who are you? What do you do? It's just, here's my like top 10 things that'll catch their eye. Like, bam, it's just a thought. Because like when people see that, plus this thing right here, I love this, dude. Like I can think of 4 businesses around me that this would be exactly what they need.
Ice cream shops and shit like that, man, would tear.
Well,
that
I mean,
up.
think about just coffee companies, like the lady down the street, like exactly everything you said. Like you've got the size and the cost, and you got room for another one to add to it. This costs $1 to add, but we can change that later because prices go up.
Yeah, that one took me quite a while, and that's why I kind of wish I had a CO2 laser, because it kind of makes me different that I made one all out of wood, because you usually see people make their QR code stands all out of acrylic. That's what I see all the time. I don't see a lot of wood ones, but like I don't have a CO2, so I made it just all out of wood with the laser that I have, you know?
Yeah, and another thing that would be really cool too, if you wanted to add color to this, would be like the 2-layer row mark, like we were talking about before.
Yeah,
like
I didn't know about it at that time. I definitely
for sure
use that now. I want to make some signs with it. I want to do everything with that row mark. Honestly, I really do.
Matt, go down. Can you click that cornhole board?
Yeah.
That's kind of sick. What is the process here? Because that's obviously that bright white. That's a lot. Is that like vinyl?
Yes, and thank you to my mother if she's watching. She cut that out with her Cricut because I didn't have.
Wow, way to go, Mom!
Because vinyl's a no on the laser.
Yeah, we don't cut vinyl with a laser.
No bueno.
I mean, there is laser safe vinyl, but not all vinyl is laser safe.
You got to go to the one of the bar, man. That's the one.
I know. Her
video is. That's videos.
Well, and this I think was the one you were talking about, right? The or maybe not the hexagon sign. I think that's really cool. This is one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah, I love that one.
Super cool.
And that B is just detailed, man. That is nice.
Yeah, I feel like you were like starting to up your game on Instagram with the videos.
Yeah, those are all cringy to me.
Dude, look at this.
I feel like I do way better.
So this is what Alex was talking about with the snap, I think.
Those transitions
that's
are
all
cool.
cut out with my laser. We found files online to hang everything because my husband does everything. He does his best when he has time to make my life efficient when I work, so that I'm not struggling every day, like running around. So he's always building me little knickknacks to help me out.
That's what Voice needs, dude. He's like the spray paint man over there.
I can't even go into the shop right now because just everything that I own in the shop is on the floor, and they're just in like mounded piles. And I need to laser cut some storage. That seems like a no-brainer.
Well, it's funny you say that because I actually have a video coming out with a really cool website that Kyle used in his video where I made storage, and that's going to be coming out really soon.
Oh, cool.
So, anyways, but and again, just like really cool things that you can do.
What are these? Click that. What is this? What am I looking at?
Bottle openers for a wedding party.
They're wood?
Broomson. Yeah, they're made out of wood. I got them off AliExpress.
Are they meant to be used? Do they work?
Yeah, it's got the metal inserts in there.
Like steel
there's metal inside. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never seen them before. This is sick. Okay.
That's like the.
Really
I just didn't know if I thought they were like press board or some shit, and they were like just for looks or
now
what.
This was the one.
The mask.
Okay, so these two. These two.
That was the first one. That sign right there is the first time I ever got to use a Dremel to do detailed sanding in my MDF, and I've been dying to try it. And someone finally gave me an order where I could really just go all out with it, and that was the first time I ever used a Dremel. Was on that project.
It's awesome. By the way,
so
Jack
dope.
in the shop said, I need that paint wall, which, by the way, that's impressive for Jack to want something that anyone on our show has. So
sweet, I'll take it. Yeah,
I desperately need some spray paint storage.
And
I
by the
have
way,
like
this is the
45
stuff
cans
that
just floating
blew
around.
us away. Like when we were like, because Boyce was like, yeah, there's a lady who does diode stuff. We were like, oh, cool. And then we started looking and it was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, I never thought that it was like a big deal that I had those lasers, but then my husband was kind of explaining it to me and how not a lot of people use diode lasers for as big as of projects that I've done them on or I've used it for.
So
but
I think it's just it's novel because you are taking people's excuses away. You're eliminating every excuse.
And here's what I wanted to know for people, because people look and say, I can't make a 4-foot sign. I have a diode, but you did it. So, I mean, are you willing to tell people like what? I mean, it looks like you have different pieces maybe going on here or something.
So that cow head itself, the only cut that I had to do. So I'll take my 20-watt laser out into my garage, and I'm gonna be posting a video of my like garage tour on my next YouTube channel video. And I have a really big workbench, so I brought my laser out there, and I used the extra. What are these things? I brought it up with these the legs.
Oh, the risers.
Yeah,
risers,
so I rise it up, and if this isn't enough, I just build it up with wood to make it as high as I need. That one I didn't need to go that high, but I needed a big flat area because I had to. What is it called in Lightburn? You have your whole image. And then you can like break it in half.
The print and cut.
Yeah, I think so. So you could just drag over what you're not going to cut out what you have, and then you move your piece over, connect the dots. You do like a little, what is it called?
Little markers.
Markers, yeah, that you put the laser on to make sure you're all straight and squared away, and then I'd cut the rest of it. It's a little time consuming.
Right, Kyle? I'm not making that up. Yeah, okay.
I saw Kyle nodding. I was like, way to go. Well, and that's the good thing. Like, so a lot of people buy the bigger bed so they don't have to do all that, but you don't have to, is what I thought was really cool. And we talked about it.
Do I have the bigger bed? I think I have the bigger bed, right?
Yeah, I think you do. Look, from here.
I wouldn't have done that on the
well, but when I say bigger bed, like people who have like 4-foot by 6-foot beds and like 4-foot by 8-foot beds and stuff like that. It's really easy to go, well, I want to make these kind of signs, so I'm going to spend an extra like $8,000. Yeah. And you don't have to.
No, you don't have
to. So that was really neat. And the other thing, a couple of comments that I've been starring as we go. Let's see. Let's do, by the way, hi to everybody. We haven't even stopped to say hello because we actually started at 9 o'clock and everybody was freaking out. So
hi, everybody.
Vince said, who are you guys? Beam It Up said, glad to see some diode love. Here we go, right here. So this is where John said, another medium that diodes are good with is anodized aluminum, like dog tags, military style, and dog bone. Those tend to be one-off designs and easy to do. And I saw that you started working with aluminum, I guess, recently, like aluminum and steel, or?
Yeah, I did that. I had to build up the laser pretty high for that box. I used like pieces of wood and stacked it up really high. But yeah, I don't know what setting. I think I copied the setting that I used on like the what's it called, the flask. I like if it's a material like the can, I'm like, okay, what material have I engraved on that's similar to like try it out and see if like that's the first setting, because I can't run a test grid on that because it's like a one-time thing, you know. And I kind of lucked out. I kind of get lucky sometimes with my guesses on like what I think will work to engrave on it, but that just takes practice of me engraving on things.
Just so you guys know what I keep talking about, because I keep saying this over and over again. This is the X-Tool D1 Pro's extension kit. So it's literally just the Y-axis, and they're two rails that are longer than the two rails that came with the machine. Because I've noticed in your videos, you're mostly engraving, it looks like sideways, but it's just because you have it like laid out that way so that it's a wider bed. So this, something like this, and they make these for like every brand of diode laser imaginable, at least the big ones. Ortur makes them, Atom Stack makes them. They're just rails because it's a very simple machine. So for $200, you can basically double your work area, and that's key to, I think, a lot of what you're doing is having just that little bit of extra space can make the difference. Because instead of doing 4 print and cuts, you're doing 1.
Yeah.
You know, so I feel like that's probably a big help. But I keep mentioning this and we haven't really shown it. So I just want to show it to you guys. This is what they look like. It's a very simple thing and it makes a big difference.
It does.
Yep.
So let me go back to this because this is where we're talking about the RGBs or the LED. Well, RGB is just our red, green, blue, but the LEDs and how they make a difference. Like, look at that, man.
Yeah.
That's already a really cool, nice sign. But like,
lights.
It just pops. Like if I was, and that's where when you go to, and I think about this. So if you're somebody who has a diode laser and you're going to go to a pop-up market or a show, a lot of people can do signs like this, but this is, especially when it's at nighttime or evening, this is where people are going to walk up to your booth and be like, holy crap, like I want to see what you got here.
Yep, it draws them in
the attention for real.
So, and that's where they, if they see the price tag on it and they're like, oh, they still might walk over to your stuff like you had a minute ago, like the ammo cans and the slate coasters and see cool stuff. Or they might even ask for a custom piece of work.
Yeah.
Like this thing.
Yeah, that one was
cool.
That's a really cool one.
Guys, the takeaway here isn't to run out and buy LEDs and put them behind your signs.
I mean,
it's being able to differentiate yourself in the market.
Yeah.
And before you listened to this episode of the podcast, you probably were not thinking about putting LEDs behind the signs. So don't get that stuck in your head. That's not the only answer.
Did you say LED behind the signs?
I don't want, so close to getting fired. You don't want to just latch on to like the first thing that you see when you're trying to differentiate, because then you're not being different. There's 800 people are going to listen to this podcast by the time the week is up, and 800 people are going to be like, oh, that's a cool, unique, novel idea. And it's not going to be unique anymore. So just take some time and think, brainstorm, talk to other people, or experiment. Those are all options on different ways that you could potentially, and I'm not saying don't do lights at all. I'm saying, maybe the screaming RGB isn't necessarily the answer, and just like try to exercise your creativity in coming up with ways to differentiate yourself.
Here's the other thing. You're exactly right. That's with dyed wood, multiple types of wood. It's also with multi-layer cuts. It's also with a really kick-ass design. It's also with spacers that are nicely almost like hidden in the work where you don't even see how it's mounted. And then on top of that, the plugs are kind of like hidden so that you don't see that either. So there's a lot that goes into that sign looking as nice as it does, besides like it's shiny. So you're right. But Vince had asked, what are those lights called? And we can find a link for those. Like I literally bought them a week ago. It's the RGB ICs from Govee.
Yeah, they have so many different light options.
They also measure their stuff in meters, by the way. So I bought one that I thought was like 6 feet, and it was 6 meters. So I got 18 or 20 feet almost of lighting, and I was like, that's why it was $40. Okay, makes sense now. I thought they were just really fancy.
Kyle, do we have a link to those in the description?
To what?
The
Govee.
Govee.
I will find them.
Last night we used the Govee lights, and if you go to my post that I just posted today, there's pieces on their logo that aren't attached to the D itself. And so we cut the Govee lights and soldered them and like rewired them in the back. So everything is like so clean looking. Like I'm used to having like wrap all these lights around in a weird way or whatever. But we got it down to where it looks so clean, and it's a game changer for our future projects with LED lights.
And by the way, that's one more thing to add to the list of what Alex was just saying is not only all the other stuff, but also soldering.
Just because you see it, you can't just go, I'm going to put lights on shit. Like, it's not that easy, man. It's a lot.
Well, that's one of the things
it's hard, and they can break if you got to bend them a certain way, if you're going to bend them, and like they can be expensive if you buy the expensive ones, and it does take practice, trial and error, and don't just think you could just put lights behind a sign and it's just going to, I don't want you to get your hopes up, but you're going to have to practice like on something.
That's the thing that I
don't think Alex is trying to make sure people get.
I don't think we're talking about it a lot, but you are not a very technical person, it doesn't seem, Emily, and you're not sitting here reading a textbook to figure out how to do this. I get the sense you're literally brute forcing your way through each of these projects and then learning from it. And
that's the best way to put it. Wow, I love that.
Right. And so like that,
the best way to learn is to do.
That effort is required. If you're not going to take an advanced science, course and get a degree in laser optics, then you need to put in the effort to trial and error through this, and brute forcing it is the way that you're going to get that done. And we're looking at Emily's Instagram, which is her successes. I'm certain for every one of these photos, every one of these successes, I mean, how many fails have there been between them? So
well, and the other thing too is I agree with you 100%, but also showcasing your successes, which is what the photography did. So the cool videos that show off some fancy lights is neat, but I mean, this is just a hat with a leather patch, but look, it's like clean and classic looking, and it's just right up. You got the forefront nice and clear. You've got the background with a little bit of haze going on.
Yeah, I've been trying really hard, watching a lot of videos to get better at like my video and photo editing. That's like a while back. I feel like I've been trying. You guys should let me know what you think. Like, do you think?
Where's the bar one?
If you go up, right there.
This guy.
I've been trying to make funner videos for my hats because I feel like no one wants to see the same boring hat.
This is a cool video.
Yeah,
man.
and you shot this with the Osmo and your phone?
Yes, and I use CapCut to do all my editing.
Dude, look how nice this looks, Alex. This is what I was trying to show you. Like,
that one.
Like when the rain is like slow motion falling.
Oh yeah, that was dude, cool. I love that.
I really like the one. I'd like to show off the one with the different hat styles too, because I mentioned it earlier.
When you snap your fingers.
Yeah, I want to see the different hat styles again.
Where's the hat styles?
Which one is that?
Let me see.
It was like
it's in her hand.
Oh, is it?
Hold on a second. Just go to the reels. We'll cut all the pictures. It's in her hand. Oh, this one.
No, it might be that. It might be the.
No, it's not that one.
Like forest one that we didn't finish. You clicked it earlier, and then we clicked off it and looked at something else.
I don't know where it is.
It was at the top, bro.
It's at the top.
I think it's that top right one. No, I'm pretty sure it is.
All right, let's try.
There's dancing, and then there was like a lake or something, right? I think so. Yeah. Yes, this is the one. This
there's your camel hat.
These hats are so dope.
That's a Richardson 168. I made that design myself.
Yeah.
For a guy. He's an ex-military. He wanted like American flag and he's doing professional fishing. So I made him that hat. I was like, okay, I think maybe going to the river would be like a cool way to display it. I don't know. I'm just trying to make it funner. Like no one wants to see the same hat every day.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but that's what's nice is you got the static images, like the one that we just saw where it's just sitting there. And then you got some dynamic footage where people are putting them on. They're smiling and happy. Like it's cool. So
think about this, guys. She's got 2 diodes and an iPhone.
Yeah, my iPhone.
Doing all that.
New iPhone, but I was doing it on my old one.
And CapCut.
You're like
CapCut. CapCut.
Killing it, man.
Really cool.
You're shredding any excuse there is to not succeed.
Well,
and you're utilizing mixed media, photos and video, because people consume content in different ways.
So I was just gonna say this because
Matt. Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna say because I really thought it was cool watching your progression because there's a lot of people that start as a woodwork or they start as just an engraver of like some stuff, but you're actually building like a nice catalog as you go.
Yeah,
where it's like here's my 3 or 4 products that really pop and I do really well. You know, so I thought that was cool.
Thank you.
Kyle, I'm sure, has been keeping up. Kyle's like my link man. He just hooking me up with the links as I call them out to him all night. Thanks, Kyle. Sorry. Before we wrap up, first of all, smash the like button. Let everybody else know the content is good. And then go into the description and click all of Emily's links and just follow her everywhere. I want to see this YouTube channel. I'm going to be keeping an eye on the YouTube channel.
There.
I made my first YouTube
Kyle
channel.
found it.
As a community, we've tripled your subscriber count already.
Yeah, you were up to 29 subscribers on YouTube already.
Dope.
No,
go sub, guys.
30.
And then the other thing is, Emily, before we bail today, do you have any last like big vibrant piece of advice or like pro tip that you want to drop about diodes before we vamoose?
Okay.
Like the one thing, like if you could go back in time thing.
I think, and it kind of sounds corny, but if it's something you really want, you can't give up just because you're not doing it like good, like well yet. You need to just keep trying and trying, and you're gonna have sleepless nights. It's gonna be hard. I didn't get lucky for where I'm at today. I had to work really hard. So if it's something you want to do and you're serious about it, you got to put in the work. And not even just with the diode laser, any laser. To be successful, there's so much that goes into it, but it is doable. Like I have kids, I'm doing it. Like it's hard, but it's worth it. It's worth it in the end. You just got to keep pushing through, honestly.
Brute force.
Yep, brute force. I'm going to use that now.
With that, guys, we are at an hour. Emily, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. This was honestly so nice. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, totally. And I want to touch base in maybe like a month or two, and we'll see what that YouTube sub count is at. I want we'll have to do. I want to see what you do with Mark. I want to see what you do with YouTube. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, so I'm really excited too. I have a good feeling about this.
That'll be fun. Make sure you subscribe, guys. Links are in the description. Shout out one more time to our sponsor tonight, Johnson Plastics Plus. We've talked about you guys a lot tonight.
They're great.
You're getting a lot of airtime. We love you. Thank you for your sponsoring of this tragic event. And thank you, Live Chat, for being here and hanging out with us tonight. I think that's all the thank yous. Do all the stuff, guys. If you love the channel and you want to support it, make sure we can keep doing new episodes of this weird show. You can find out how to do that over at masters.lasereverything.net. We got lots more content coming out for you really soon. Emily, I'm sure you'll be back on. Thank you one last time.
Yeah,
really appreciate it.
Guys, I appreciate it.
And that's all we've got, guys. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Laser Source Podcast, and we will see you in the next one.
Peace out.
Pew, pew, pew.